What's up, guys? Welcome back to Rule of Two Review. My name is Rob, and today I'm going to discuss that one game that everybody seems to be talking about. So, over the last couple of days, a new trailer for a new game has hit the internet, and it's been making crazy waves and garnered a lot of controversy and attention for itself. And honestly, the fact that I'm sitting here talking about it, making a video, kind of shows how far it's traveled. Not like I'm the biggest deal or anything. I'm just saying, you know, I'm another person being added to that list of people talking about that game and giving it attention, which some people probably wouldn't be happy about because a lot of people aren't too hip on it. So, in case you haven't heard, it's a game called Hatred. It is by Destructive Studios, and the trailer that came out is pretty evil, you know? You would kind of guess with a name like Hatred kind of gives you an idea of what's exactly going on with that game. But it basically, I'll sum it up just like a lot of people are doing. I'm also going to post the trailer below, so if you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend watching it. In fact, if you haven't seen it, I would watch it before listening to the rest of this video and then come back and watch the rest of my video and my thoughts on it. I definitely recommend. I feel like the more you know about the game going into a conversation about it, the better off the conversation is going to be for you. So it's you know, hopefully at this point you've now seen it. So it's a guy who's grabbing all these weapons. He has this inner monologue to himself about how I'm sick of the world and people suck and I just want to lash out and take care of all the problems I have in life and be violent and blah, blah, blah. You know, some guy with a big leather jacket and long black hair that's covering half his face. And he's like, now I'm going to release my hatred or something like that. And kicks open his front door and it's just a regular old suburban town. And he just starts going nuts on people. And he basically just starts killing people. And then you kind of see the gameplay. It's an isometric game similar to like, oh God, what's the PlayStation game I'm trying to think of? Dead Nation. Jesus Christ. Sorry. Dead Nation more recently. Other things like, I guess I don't want to say Zombies Eat Your Neighbors because that's older. Like the Silent Hill game that was isometric. You know, a top-down kind of shooter where it's only available on PC so far, or going to be available on PC, and you're using your mouse to move around, similar like what Diablo is, for example, or the old Warcraft games. And you're moving your character around and you're just shooting a bunch of people and you're just causing complete havoc. And a lot of people have very strong opinions about this, and it's being garnered as this game that's, you know, it's just too hateful, for a lack of a better term, and that's why people seem to be up in arms about it. And so the real question is starting to become, you know, is this game going too far, and is it right that it's making people so upset? So this is kind of a tricky one for me because I'm sort of on both sides of the fence, and let me explain what that means. Here's the reason why I'm okay with the game. Because honestly, any game has a right to exist. I feel like this is a game just like any other game. Gaming has been a very mature place for mature content for many years now. Really, the 6th gen, so the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube, that was really where it started to kick itself into high gear with how mature the content was getting, you know. It was just barely begun in the 90s with Mortal Kombat and stuff, but not so much on the home console front. And then the PS1 and 64 era kind of were starting to dabble in it for sure. Especially with, you know, when you look at games like Killer Instinct, Metal Gear Solid, stuff like that at the time. You know, 6th gen is when it really started to become a big deal with games like God of War and the Grand Theft Auto evolution into 3D and where that whole thing went. So, you know, we're pretty used to mature games, and in a lot of ways, when you look at this game as far as just a pure game and the way it is supposed to play and just be a game that's pretty mature and violent, it's almost kind of like a game just like any other game. So the attention that it's getting almost seems rather silly or misguided in that respect. I will definitely tell you that the game doesn't appeal to me. There's really not a lot that I like about it when I watch it. In some ways, I feel like it is, you know, maybe not doing the best things, and in other ways, it just looks like it's just not a very good game. But that aside, I feel like we live in this day and age where freedom of speech and freedom of, you know, the right to art is something that should be stood up for in this regard. And a lot of people are saying this game shouldn't be released and shouldn't come out. And I certainly see where they're coming from, and I'm going to touch on that in a minute. But at the end of the day, and this is the most important thing, and this thread carries through even the arguments I'm going to make against the game, at the end of the day, the right to make any kind of game for any kind of audience, provided it doesn't actually physically hurt anybody, totally stands. And there's nothing wrong with releasing a game like this, you know. Another argument I can make is when you start looking at other forms of media, you know, especially film. That is the most direct correlation you can make to gaming. And there are so many completely evil, violent films that come out, and that is completely okay, because there's a rating system and people are just used to it. So why is it that we have to look at a video game and say that because it's a video game, it's gone too far? To me, that seems a little one-sided. I think it's definitely a double standard happening there, and I think that that's too bad. And it's unfortunate for the game and the creators. The other argument is the fact that other games have come out and maybe been just as violent, if not more so. So why is this game getting so much shit? I think I can tell you why, and it's because of this is kind of the crux of the thing that I really wanted to bring up in this video. It's because of the context, and you have to see the trailer, I think, to understand. The game and the violence and the way it actually plays out once he starts killing people is very much directed and delivered to be as disturbing and uncomfortable as possible. The way the music builds, the way the slow fades and the quick cuts go from innocent person to people screaming for help. And I mean, they make it look like the most innocent people possible. A cop rolling around on the ground, a woman that looks like a soccer mom with shopping bags that you just kick her over, pull her head up and put your gun to the back of her head and boom, her whole head's gone while they're screaming for help. It's very much the delivery of the trailer, which was very obviously meant to be extremely shocking. And it works. I mean, I watched it, and at first I was like, well, this is probably just going to be like any other game. I'm not sensitive. I don't mind violence. I don't mind nudity and naked people and sexy things, and whatever this game is going to show, it's like I can't imagine it's going to bother me because I just don't really care. Like, I like mature stuff just like I like very family-friendly stuff. And then when it started, like, I will admit to being pretty shocked. But I realized as it went on, in reiterating this point, that it very much was contextual. It was the way it was delivered. And that's why I think that when you compare it to something like a Grand Theft Auto, which, if for any of you who don't remember or might be too young, that was like a controversy like I'd never heard when Grand Theft Auto 3 came out, and the way you could kill innocent people. And I think that the main difference between the way Hatred is being presented and the way the Grand Theft Auto games are is that in Grand Theft Auto, it's kind of, a lot of people may not agree with this, but I'm just going to say it the way I feel it. It's kind of unrealistic, and it's almost kind of funny. I don't know if that makes any sense. It's just the style and the tone of GTA. And even when it's very serious with its story and its character development and stuff like that, the overall idea of running amok in a city, I think, is presented in a way more video gamey, arcadey, fun, silly way. Yes, it can be brutal and violent and really hard to watch at times for sure, but they're also grounded in a sense of reality and trying to tell a real, legitimate story. And again, it's just, to me, Grand Theft Auto's violence is goofy. And a lot of people may not agree with that, and I couldn't really tell you that you're wrong. You certainly have a right to see that. This is the way I look at these games and what's happening with Hatred, So a lot of games that do what those kind of things are, the way they're presented and the tone of those games sort of makes it feel less abrasive, and less instantly shocking and offensive. Hatred, again, the final game may not be this way, or may not feel this way or be delivered this way, but in the trailer, it is definitely delivered to be as shocking and uncomfortable as possible. And it's effective. Again, I am no sissy when it comes to these things. I'm a 34-year-old man who's been through a lot of shit in my life, and I like violent movies and violent comics and violent video games, And I was like, whoa, like, I really didn't expect this. I thought I was going to be prepared for anything, and I wasn't prepared for it. It just certainly shocked me, And I think that's why it just seems this way. But, going back to the original point, at the end of the day, there's no reason for anyone to not be able to make a game like this. Again, it's not hurting anybody. It's not based on real events, so it's not instantly offensive to anyone who maybe has been involved in, like a massacre or whatever before. This is really just a random game with a random guy in a random town doing shit to random people. And yes, it's a little horrifying, but it's really nothing more than just another violent video game. So on the flip side, there is one major thing that sticks out to me as to why maybe some of the controversy is deserved, and that certainly makes me question maybe the timing of the game coming out. And that has to do with, honestly, the way the gaming industry and people and gamers and journalists and everything right now are reacting to each other. There's lots of real-life bomb threats and life threats, or I guess death threats and stuff happening right now with some very public figures, gamers doing horrible things to other gamers and other famous people. So it's kind of just, it almost feels like a very inappropriate time to release something like this. It's not so much that the game itself is so inappropriate it shouldn't come out. I think it's just coming out in the midst of a shitstorm within the gamer community, and one that has potentially violent and dangerous implications for real people. So when I look at what's happening with Hatred and the way it made me feel, one of the first things I thought about was, oh, this doesn't feel right. Like we've been seeing too many things in the news and reading articles about people being in danger and the danger and the meanness going on, within the gamer community. And I feel like this sort of is not the right time to do that. And even further to that same point is it almost is going to, well, the one thing I worry about it is that it might actually paint the wrong kind of picture of the gaming community, especially to people outside of the gaming community, or to anyone who wants to stand up against violent video games and just gamers as a whole. I definitely feel like this could be used as fodder against us. Again, not reason to not release the game. Freedom of speech and creativity is freedom of speech and creativity, and that stands first and foremost, like I said. But I do think that there is this one potential backlash to watch out for, because I think that it's going to say, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, this is why gaming is disgusting, or people who play video games are just horrible people. Look at this. I can't believe they would do this, and blah, 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 blah. And they would be wrong, and they would be judging, in an uneducated fashion. But, for anyone who's been gaming for a long time, we're not new to that. And we're just going to have to put up with it again, probably. But at the same time, it's also nice to be able to avoid that stuff. I like the idea of presenting the positive cases for gaming. I like showing games like The Last of Us and Journey and the Uncharted games and the Mario Galaxy games that are beautiful, well-told stories, fun and friendly, very artistic, very emotional and deep and complex, music-based games, things like this, good music-based games, I should say. There's so much good side to gaming that actually presents the strong case for us that this is the kind of thing that could work against us, and again, even further so because of the timing of the game. So the game is set to come out next year, 2015. I think it's maybe early 2015. Like I said, right now, the only announced platform that I can find is PC. That's what it says on Wikipedia, so for Windows. We'll see what happens there. My overall opinion on the game is kind of as such. I've expressed both the positives and negatives there. At the end of the day, it's not anything I care about, just for myself as a gamer. Looking at it as a video game, it's not really interesting to me. Because that's kind of the thing, is what I certainly question is if it's even just going to be a good game. I feel like there's potential for it to just be a completely boring game. It does look very unoriginal. The delivery of the trailer aside, the game itself looks very, very unoriginal. And I can't imagine that the gameplay is very deep. There's probably not much of a story. And I just think that's going to be like a random time killer, and it might not even be all that great. So I feel like the quality of the game is probably the most controversial thing that I can think of. I don't really know that it's going to really be that good. So I have no desire to play it. It'll be really interesting to see if it's actually a good game. And what happens once it actually releases, if it sticks to this release date. There is a case to be made for maybe someone saying, hey, this game's fine, but we need to give the gaming community some time to breathe. We need to give some breathing room for all this controversy and horrible things that have been happening. This game is sort of exemplifying the worst of that, and it maybe needs to just sort of sit in the cooker for a while before it's time to release this game to the public. For anyone who maybe remembers, again, for anyone old enough to, there was a Tim Allen movie in the late 90s or early 2000s. I think it was called Joe Somebody. That might be the wrong film. But it had kind of to do with a terrorist plot. And what I can't remember is if this was supposed to come out right around the time that the Columbine shooting happened in 99 or 9/11 happened in 2001, but that's just a 2-year gap. So around that time, this movie was supposed to come out. And because of whichever event happened at that time, I think it was probably 9/11, because of that movie got delayed for like well over a year. It was not the right time to release that movie. So they waited. They didn't really do anything to the film. They waited and released it when it was safer, and it was maybe a little bit more out of people's minds, and it didn't feel like a too soon kind of moment. Just like what happened with the film American Gangsters, Gangster Squad, I think, like with Ryan Gosling, that was going to come out within the months following the Batman shooting, which happened right here in my hometown, by the way, 2012 for The Dark Knight Rises. That was about 20 minutes away from the theater that we were at, by the way, when that happened. Horrible thing. It tore up this city and this state badly. And I do remember that they delayed that film to reshoot the ending and change the ending. So it came out not only with a different ending, because in that film there was people shooting up a movie theater, but they also gave, again, a much larger window of time between when the shooting had happened and when a film with a similar kind of storyline came out. And I think that those are okay things. I actually didn't agree with the reshooting of the ending, or for Gangster Squad. I think that probably could have remained. But when it comes to the delaying of the film to make sure it's a little bit more appropriate for the people involved, that I think is legitimate. So when I think about Hatred and what's going on. To bring myself full circle back again, I feel like it maybe wouldn't hurt to give that game a delay for the sake of how soon this stuff is happening and what's happening contextually within the gaming industry, and the community. So I don't think that's going to happen. The game's probably going to come out. If it's good or not, I guess we'll see. At the end of the day, like I said, I support their right to make this game. If you want to play it and you think it looks good, or if it even is a good game, then awesome. I think that the best compromise would be to delay it, but I don't think that that's going to happen. At the end of the day, even though the game doesn't look good to me, it looks kind of boring and uninspired, it certainly has a right to come out despite any controversy, and it's one of those things where, hey, if you don't want to play it, then don't fucking play it. I'm not going to play it. I don't think the game looks good, but I do think it should be released. It has a right to be a game. They have a right to make this game. And I'm making the choice not to play it more because it just doesn't look like a good game than because of the controversy. But if there's any reason that this game doesn't look good to you, then just don't play it. Like, it's really that simple to avoid this game. It really, really is. So, man, I don't know. I guess I had more to say on this topic than I really expected. So that's kind of my thoughts, you kind of have a pretty good idea. Definitely curious what you guys think, because of the nature of the content. And I even had to bring this up in my last video. Hopefully no one gets too mean and upset about this kind of thing. I don't really want to talk about too many negative things. And this game has a negative connotation to it for sure. But I certainly want to hear your thoughts. You heard what I think. At the end of the day, don't care about it, but it has a right to release, so it should release. Those are my thoughts, but what do you guys think? All right, and right here at the end of the video, I have to give one quick shout out. Just today, Tuesday, October 21st, I actually reached 900 subscribers, and I can't tell you how freaking amazing that is. That is next week. October 30th is actually my 1-year anniversary from my first video on Rule of Two Review solely as myself. I put up some of the old 1-Bit podcast videos a couple months before that, but that was still as the group thing with the old guys who used to do that podcast with me. But once I reformatted Rule of Two Review into the YouTube channel the way it is, as kind of a mostly one-man show the way you know it now with me, that first video in that format was October 30th. So my 1 year is coming right up. My goal was to reach 1,000 subscribers in my first year, and here I am just a week away, and I've hit 900, and I am not disappointed. I honestly set the bar very, very high, and my realistic expectations, my goal was 1,000, but my realistic expectations were well below that. So honestly, 900 just feels wonderful. I can't be more appreciative of everyone out there who's discovered me, shared my videos, shared my content, enjoyed it, gotten involved with conversations, asked me questions over this last year and all this stuff. It feels amazing. My next huge milestone, obviously, is 1,000 subscribers. When that happens, be on the lookout because I'll be having a really pretty cool big contest. I mean, not massive, but it's going to be the largest prize that I've done yet for a contest. So that's the best way that I can think of to reward you guys. I really appreciate your support. I like that. I like knowing that a lot of people out there seem to like my content. I present my opinions and views the way I present them, and if you like them, then I hope that you enjoy what I do. And it seems like a lot of people do. So for me, 900 might as well be 9 million. It just feels awesome. So thank you guys so much. I'm really glad you like my stuff. I'm always down for suggestions and conversations. I like to interact with you guys. So please keep that stuff up. Please continue to share the content that I make and the channel with other people and other friends and gamers. I definitely want to keep on growing. I'm not stopping anytime soon. I love doing this. I still have my day job, and maybe one day I can do this full time. We'll see. I do really well with my day job, so I don't know what I'm going to do there, but I'm definitely going to keep doing this solely because I love it. Would I like to do it full time? Sure. Would I need a hell of a lot more subscribers and views per video? Sure. But if that never happens, that's not going to stop me from doing this because it's just chatting with and to you guys and talking about my favorite hobby, which is gaming, that keeps me passionate and motivated to do this, and it probably won't be stopping anytime soon. So anyway, that's my short little sappy love letter to you guys and to the success I feel like I've had personally. Thanks again for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing and supporting Rule of Two Review. Keep a lookout after 1,000 subscribers for new content. Of course, leave your thoughts and stuff about hatred in the game and stuff below. It's funny that I went from a very dark, serious, miserable topic about a game called Hatred, and then I was like, oh, I love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Oh, man, I just love. Whatever. That's just what it is. I'm in a weird mood tonight, I guess so. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you guys on the next video.